Hey guys, today we're gonna go ahead and talk about factor by grouping and just a few steps just to get you guys an idea of how to do these. The first thing we always got to do is we got to look for the greatest common factor. Okay, and hopefully you could see one. If not, then you go continue with your steps. But when you see four terms, that's a good indication that you're gonna be using factor by grouping. Okay, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna group them individually. You're gonna group in sets of two. Okay, and then you're gonna factor each group individually. Lastly, you're gonna go ahead and combine the factors. All right, and then I'll be translating in Spanish as well, just because I have some Spanish viewers as well. All right. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy, muchachos, vamos a factorear usando grupos. Lo primero que tienen que ver es si hay un factor en común que tiene todos los términos. Cuando vean que tiene cuatro términos, es buena indicación que van a usar factorización usando el grupo. Okay, lo que vamos a usar es ubicar los grupos en dos y factorizarlos individualmente. Y últimamente vamos a combinar los factores. So guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this example. The first question is there a common factor? Well, you think, oh, there's an x, but no, 15 doesn't have an x. Oh, there's a 3. 3 doesn't go into 5. So there is nothing else. But you notice we have four terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and factor. What does that mean? Factor by grouping. So this is what it means. I'm going to take this guy here. I'm going to factor group them. And then I'm going to group this guy here. Okay? So I'm going to factor this guy. And I'm going to factor this guy individually. So I'm going to do this. So what can I factor out of these two? Well, this guy has x cubed. This guy has x squared. Esta tiene 3x, esta tiene 2. Well, how much can I factor just these two? Well, you can factor out 2. You can factor out 2. Okay, now let's go to this one. Okay, what can I factor out of this one? Okay. I can factor out a 3 because 3 goes into 3 and 3 goes into 5. So now this part here, I'm going to take out an x squared. Okay. And then I'm going to do the math. Okay. And then what does that leave me with? Okay. That's going to leave me with x minus 5. And then what about this guy here? I'm going to take out the 3. And that's going to leave me with x minus 5. Okay. So if you notice, these two match together. Si pueden ver, estos son iguales. Well, how do you put it together? You're just going to combine them. So these two on the outside go together, and these guys go together. Now, because they're the same, you only need one of them. So this is how it's going to look. X squared plus 3. And then you're going to have x minus 5. So since they're both the same, all you need to do is just put one of them. And then when you multiply this out, you're going to get this result here. All right? So factor, group them individually here. Factor this guy, whatever is common. Group this guy, factor this. And then hopefully these in the inside should match. Okay? And then just group them together. Okay? Van a factorizar este individualmente. Y después, estos dos tienen que ser iguales. Y los ubican juntos. Y este igual también aquí. So let's go ahead and do number 2. If you can see, is there a common factor? And let's see, does 2? No, 2 doesn't go into 15. What about 5? 5 goes into all these, but not into the 12. What about x? X, no. El 5 nomás le entra a estos 3, no le entra el 12. La X, esta no tiene X. So we're going to go ahead and factor by grouping. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and group this guy, group this guy, group this guy, group this guy. And then, so we're going to go ahead and look underneath. What's the common factor, the greatest factor of 12 and 20? Looks like it's going to be 4. And what about the x's? X cubed and x squared. Well, it would be x squared. Okay? Now we go to the second one. What's the greatest common factor between these two? Well, it would be 5, and that's it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this guy outside. So we're going to have 4x squared. And then we do the math. 12 divided by 4 is 3. X cubed over x is x. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and that's it. Plus, same thing with the 5, we take it out. 15 divided by 3 is 3. The x stays. Plus, and then 25 divided by 5 is 5. And you notice here, these guys are the same. And then so we're going to put these two together and these guys together. So 4x squared plus 5. And then we're going to have 3x plus 5. All right? And that's that one. Okay? Let's do these next here. If you guys want to pause it and try it on your own, go for it. How about this one? Is there a common factor? Actually, this one before, it's kind of like a little bit more, not complex, but a little bit different. If you notice, okay, let's see, can we have a common factor? We don't. We're going to use factor by grouping again. And we're going to do this. Now, but this one, you see this negative? We're going to go ahead and actually factor that one as well. Include them in the group, okay? So we're going to go ahead and factor like we always do, okay? So now, what 28 and 4? 4 is going to go into it. What about k cubed and k squared? Well, k squared goes into both, okay? Now we go into the next one. Now, if you notice here, this negative, factor out that negative as well, because that's going to make your life a lot easier. So negative what? Negative 5. So that means on this side, you're also going to have to factor a negative. And that's going to help you as you factor. So 4k squared goes on the outside. And then 28 divided by 4 is 7. And then over here, 4k squared over 4k squared, that's a 1. The minus 5, same thing. We're going to take them out. Now, negative 35k divided by negative 5, that becomes a positive 7k. And then 5 divided by negative 5, that becomes a negative 1. And you notice how it was important to factor out that negative so these two could match up. So now we can put these two together, and these are the same. So we're going to have 4k squared minus 5, and then we're going to have 7k minus 1. All right? The next one, same thing. You see that minus? Okay, we're gonna practice the same thing. If you notice, still factor by grouping. We're gonna group this guy, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing. Let's see here. What goes into 4 and 20? Well, 4. And this guy has x squared, and this guy only has x, so only one of them. And then over here, I see that negative, okay? So I gotta take out that negative. And then take out that negative and negative. But the 3 goes both into 3 and the 15. What else do they have in common? They have also a y. También tienen la y en común. La y. Vamos a sacar la y. So now, when we do this one, we're going to go ahead and factor out the 4x. Okay? 4x. And then we're left with x plus 5. Minus 3y, take out the 3y, and then negative divided by negative is a positive. These y's cancel out, you're left with just x. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 15 divided by 3 is 5. The y's cancel out. And you notice here how they match up again. So then now, you have 4x minus 3y, and then you have x plus 5. Entonces, como pueden ver, es muy importante cuando vean este negativo aquí enfrente, también factorizarlo, sacarlo afuera para que estos dos estén iguales. Okay? Hopefully you guys are getting the hang of it. Let's do a few more. Okay? How about this one? What do you notice about this one? 3, 6, 15, 30. Yes. Before I start my factor by grouping, they have a 3 in common. So first, I'm going to take out a 3. So that leaves me the x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. So before I start doing my factor by grouping, I can take out a 3. And that's important because now it's a lot easier to factor. Entonces, antes de hacer la factorización, voy a sacarle el 3 porque eso me hace el trabajo más fácil. So now we're going to go ahead and factor. Okay, we're going to go ahead and group these two. Vamos a juntar estos dos, okay? Y vamos a juntar estos dos. We're going to group these two. All right. So from here, what can I factor out? And x squared on both sides, x cuadrada a los dos. Y acá es sacarle el 5 a los dos. Okay. Entonces, el x cuadrado lo vamos a sacar con el 3. Okay. Este lo voy a poner atrás, afuera. Okay. Entonces, para que no se me confunda, I'm going to just put this guy outside with the 3 outside so I don't get confused. So x squared is outside. So what do I have? I have x minus 2 plus, and then take the 5 outside. And then I have x minus 2. Okay? So then these two are going to go together. Estos dos se van a juntar y estos dos se van a juntar. Y después el 3 se va a quedar afuera. So we're going to put these together. So now we have x squared plus 5. And then we have x minus 2. And then we have the 3 on the outside. And that's a complete factorization of that one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do another one similar to that one. Let's look at this one, 24, 6, 8, and 2. What's the common factor to all of them? It's going to be 2. So we're going to go ahead and, before I start doing factor by grouping, I'm going to go ahead and take out a 2 from each one. Okay, so it's going to give me 2, and that's going to give me 12x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 1. Okay, entonces antes de factorizar, le sacamos el 2. Okay, now I can go ahead and factor by group. So we're going to go ahead and group the 12, the 3x squared, and then the 4x, and then the minus 1. So here, I'm going to factor these two. So it's going to be x squared on both. Okay, and then what about this one? This one's interesting. What can I factor out here? ¿Qué se puede factorizar? Well, there's nothing. You're right. Nothing can be factored out. So what do? You just factor out a 1. Okay, nomás se factoriza el 1. Porque no hay nada que le entre nomás el 1. So here, let's do the same thing. Vamos a hacer lo mismo. We're going to take the x squared out. We're going to be left with, oh, if you notice, what did I miss? 3 and 12, you can do the factor out of 3. So we're going to have a 3x squared factored out. And so we're going to have 4x minus 1. And then the plus 1, this guy here, you're going to take it outside. And that's still very important. This guy's going to play an important role. And then on the other one is 4x minus 1. And if you notice, we're going to put these two together. And these two are going to go together. So we're going to end up with 3x squared plus 1. And then we're going to end up with 4x minus 1 and your 2 on the outside. Entonces, como pueden ver, nomás le entro el 1, pero es muy importante porque después, cuando lo juntes acá, te queda 3x cuadrado más 1, y aquí 4x menos 1, lo juntamos, aquí queda. And that's how we end up with, guys. All right, guys, let's go ahead and see if we can do 2 more, just so to give you guys as many examples as possible. 9, 36, 4, and 16. What can go into it? 4. Oh, no, 4 doesn't go into 9, does it? X, nope. I guess we're just going to have to factor it. So let's group it. Okay, but you see that negative. Ven ese negativo. Gruparlo también. Okay. So now, factor. Take out a 9. Take out a 9. And you have the x squared out. On this side, don't forget to take out that negative. And then 4 goes on each of them. So we're going to have 9x squared on the outside. And then x plus 4. Minus, take out that 4. And then negative and negative becomes a positive 4. So we're going to put these two together. Okay. And then we're going to have 9x squared minus 4. And then x plus 4. Okay. And then the last one over here. Same thing, is there a common factor? What about 6? The 6 doesn't go into 56. What about 4? 4 goes into this one, but doesn't go into 21 or 56. So we're just gonna go ahead and leave it. Now this one's a little bit interesting, and I want to just kind of do it like we normally do and see if this is kind of like a level 3 problem, because you got to think a little bit about it. So we're gonna go ahead and factor here, group it, okay. Is there a common factor? 24 and 56. What would that be? There isn't any, huh? 3 goes into this guy, 3 goes into that one. What's going on? Well, I'm kind of stuck, aren't I? I'm kind of stuck. So what you want to do for these guys is actually you can rewrite them. They're in a mixed order, so what you can do is rewrite it in a certain order so you can factor it. So we're going to go ahead and put 24 xy, and then let's go ahead and put the x here plus 21x minus 56 minus 64y. And let's see if that'll work. Okay, is there a factor of 24 and 21? Let's see, 2 goes into it, 3, yeah, 3 goes into each one. So we're gonna go ahead and factor this guy, like that, like that. So 3 goes into each, x goes into each, okay. And then right here you have that negative. Go ahead and take out that negative. And then what goes into each? 8 goes into each, okay. And that's about it, okay. And then what do we have here? Take out that 3x. 24 divided by 3 is 8 with the y, plus 21 divided by 3 is 7, okay. Take out that minus 8. 56 divided by negative 8, that's 7. And then negative 64 divided by negative 8, that's a positive 8y, okay. Are these two the same thing? Yes, they are, because I can rewrite it. Addition is commutative. Entonces estos son iguales porque esto me da lo mismo. So we can go ahead and write it 3x plus 7, and then we can write 8y plus 7. And we can see that these two end up being the same thing. So sometimes you're gonna have to rearrange it, reorder it, so that way you can factor by grouping. We tried it first, right? We tried it this way, and man, it didn't work. So then what do? I kind of rearrange it and rewrite it, and it worked. So hopefully that helps, guys, and we'll see you next time.